Welcome to the Folktale Project. This is Dan Schulz. Today we have our final story from Legends of the Rhine. And this story is one of, well, a quick-thinking knight. This is the Knave of Bergen. The emperor was to be crowned at Frankfurt, and great festivities were to be given in the town in his honor, among them a masquerade, at which knights and noble ladies rivaled each other in splendor. Joy was depicted on every face at this great assembly, only one knight among the many guests being noticeable for his gravity and restraint. He wore black armor, and the feather waving above his visor was black too. No one knew him, or could guess who he was. He approached the empress with a noble grace, bent his knee, and asked her to dance with him, which she graciously consented to do. He glided gracefully through the splendid halls with the queen of the festival, and soon every eye was turned on them, and everyone was eager to know who he was. The empress was charmed with her excellent partner, and the grace of his refined conversation pleased her so much that she granted him a second and a third dance. Everyone became more and more curious to know who this masked knight was. Meanwhile, the hour struck when every mask had to be raised, and every masked guest must make himself known. More than all the others, the empress was anxious to know who her partner was. But he hesitated, and even refused to take off his mask until she ordered him peremptorily to do so. The knight obeyed, but none of the high ladies or noble knights recognized him. Suddenly, two stewards pressed through the crowd, crying out with indignation and horror, "It's the headsman from Bergen!" The emperor, in great wrath, ordered the shameful offender who had thus degraded the empress and insulted his sovereign to be led to execution. But the culprit, throwing himself at the emperor's feet, said boldly, "I have transgressed, my lord, and I have offended you and your noble guests, but most heavily have I sinned against my queen. No punishment, not even blood, will be able to wash out the disgrace you have suffered through me. Therefore, O king, allow me to propose a remedy to efface the shame. Draw your sword and knight me, and I will throw down my gauntlet to any who dares to speak disrespectfully of my sovereign." The emperor was taken by surprise at this bold proposal. However, it appeared the wisest plan to adopt. "You are a knave," he replied after a moment's consideration, "but your advice is good and displays prudence, just as your offense shows adventurous courage. Well then," laying his sword on the man's neck, "rise, Sir Knight. You have acted like a knave, and the Knave of Bergen you shall be called henceforth." A joyful shout of approbation pealed through the halls, and the new knight again glided gracefully through the crowd with the queen of the festival. And that is the Knave of Bergen, coming from Legends of the Rhine by Wilhelm Ruland. This story, it's short and sweet, and seems innocuous enough, but it really could be a movie, couldn't it? The knave, the headsman and executioner, tries to rise above his station, sneaks his way into the masquerade, dances with the empress, and then when he's found out, in a heartfelt plea, becomes a knight. I do love it for that. This is Dan Schulz for the Folktale Project. Don't forget that you can subscribe to the podcast on Apple Podcasts, Stitcher, Google Play, Overcast, anywhere you like to get your podcasts. You can follow us on Twitter at Folktale Project. You can find us on Auto Radio, TuneIn Radio, iHeartRadio, Spotify, anywhere you like to listen. And you can always head over to folktaleproject.com, where you'll find a new story waiting for you every Monday, Wednesday, and Friday. Don't forget that if you'd like to help support the podcast, you can always head over to patreon.com/folktaleproject, where for as little as $1 a month, you can get early access to every story told. Next week, we'll be back with 3 new tales. And as always, thank you so much for listening.